Hello Internet! Welcome back to Stoneblock 3. I've been having some fun. So if you caught the... I was about to call it a mini episode, but it's actually about twice as long as my episodes normally are. But if you caught the previous episode came out, I went through and trekked my way all the way down here and went through this dungeon down here. And I did end up going back after the episode, or after the video I'd recorded, and I cleared out the last couple of hallways, mostly just down this way. There wasn't really anything super exciting down there. We did most of it in the video. But I did get my hands on a few bits and bobs here and there, one of them being I went back for the glow lichen. So I now have some of that growing, so we can use that for... decoration and lighting and so on and so forth. I also set myself up for these twisting vines, but I don't have the nylium that I need to be able to grow it yet, because it has to grow on... It grows on this stuff here. And obviously I have one already, or warped nylium. But obviously I have one already because I've got this going here. But I made this... using you can make the warped nylium in an infuser by taking fungi. So you just put a mushroom in there and some crimson nylium, and you can make the crimson by doing the same thing with netherrack. I don't have any more netherrack, so I can't actually do that. Once I get some more netherrack, then I can actually get that growing, and hopefully we'll also be able to find some twisting vines at some point. Or not twisting, the hanging one, the red variant. It would be nice to get some of that at some point as well. I've got the wither roses growing. I set up the flax. I've got the slime trees growing. One's there and one is over here. We picked up at some point along the way. You can just grow like it says in the tooltip that it only grows on slimy dirt or grass. It grows just fine on normal dirt in the upper botany pots. So obviously there's a mod interaction confliction going on where it's not working the way that it's supposed to. But, it's fine. Alright, we also managed to collect ourselves a bit of dripstone. As you can see, I have begun farming it. I've been trying to figure out a good way to automatically do dripstone. And I really can't. I mean, I'm sure that there's a way to do it with hoppers or pistons or something with create. I can't think of a good way to do it. I've experimented before with using like belts on the ground and then pistons up above. It just gets super messy with trying to get it all to work. So I'm probably going to just do it by hand, because dripstone isn't something that you need a ton of. And there's no additional recipes for it. But we have it all there. I have it going into this. Obviously, I've turned the item renders off and everything. And it's hooked up to the controller that's over there and rigged in with. But since we have dripstone now, we can start farming lava. So lava's been kind of one of those obnoxious things for me in this pack so far, because up until now, the only way to get it has been to use the fire plow, which is cheap enough to make. It's only 2 sticks, but it also only has 4 uses. So if I need to do a bunch of lava, I have to keep making the fire plows, and it's obnoxious. I got into blood magic, and I made myself the lava sigil. This guy, yeah, lava sigil. And that works really well, but you only get a couple of uses out of it before your blood network drains and you start taking damage and have to go refill it. So having lava, and obviously it's connected to the I'm standing too close to the sheep farm. It's connected to the ME system, so I can see it through this, and this is the wireless terminal. You can hook it up as a bauble and use a key bind. But yeah, so it's just when the lava goes in, there's fluid pipes underneath here. So in a second, there it goes. As soon as it fills up, it gets sucked out, and it ends up deposited in this tank right here. See, it's just going up. And then there's a storage bus here connecting it to the ME system. And since we have access to lava, I can now make basalt. I've already started using some of it for decoration. And I'm kind of proud of this little contraption. So, you know, everybody knows you can make basalt by having lava flow onto soul soil with blue ice above it. Or at least I hope you know that. This is a vanilla mechanic. There's nothing modded about this. And that will form basalt there. Then we have a mechanical drill that drills the basalt and breaks it. And so each time it breaks one, it forms another one. There is a absorption hopper down here. I was hoping that these would pick up the item, and I could just use a hopper to get it out, but it doesn't work, so I had to use the absorption hopper. Anyway, that feeds into this barrel right here, and then there's a pipe that goes from this barrel over to this chest, or this drawer, that fills it up with basalt. You can see it's fill up with basalt. Then on the back of it, I have a redstone link, and that connects over to here. So it's actually connected to this one. And you can see there's a redstone torch back there with some redstone dust coming up here. So this comparator is outputting a power of 14, and that compares it to the power coming from the drawer via this redstone link. So when this comparator, well, when this redstone link, more accurately, gets to 14 or higher, you can see it's at 15 right now, then this comparator will start outputting a signal to this link. And this one is connected to the clutch that's right here. So once this drawer fills up, the clutch turns on, disengages the mechanical drill, stops producing basalt. So once I fill up on basalt, it stops generating it. And it's really cool. I'm actually really happy with how this turned out and how actually relatively easy it was to build as well. So we can actually even just cover all this up, because I don't want any mobs to spawn back in there. There we go. And I know that it's there, so if something breaks, I can bust my way back in there to fix it. But it should work just fine. I built myself a little marine fisher. This is the industrial foregoing block that generates like fish parts and stuff. It doesn't need, it only needs a 3x3 water area, I believe. 3x3x1. I made it a little bit bigger just because I think it looks better when it actually has a larger water area. I don't think it affects the actual items that it generates, but it's generating all the items are coming out of there and going into these crates, drawers. I keep wanting to call them crates. Going into these drawers here, and then from these, anything else that isn't going in here is like the broken bows, the broken fishing rods, the armor, what else? All that junk that you fish up that isn't worth keeping. It all goes into this drawer, which isn't locked, and then just gets pulled out immediately and thrown in the trash can. But it does try to put any items into these drawers first, because I have it set that way, and then eventually it ends up in that one if it can't fit in any. I have added a couple more, I guess you'd call them modules, to this create setup here. So I kind of encased the crushing wheels a little bit because I think it looks better. But I've also added a system to make the sturdy sheets, and you'll see why in a bit. So this will take the obsidian dust, put a little bit of lava on it, stompy, and then it doesn't get affected at all by going underneath the crushing wheels here. It just ends up right here onto the belt, getting sent back into the system. And then the other one that I added is actually over here. So I pulled the belt a little bit further this way and added this setup. And you see it's 2 deployers. And this was actually the one that, this kind of annoyed me the most about how to build this. Okay, so we've got a chest right here. So this is making train tracks, and you'll see why in a second. But in order to make the train tracks, you have to take the stone slab and then 2 iron nuggets in sequence have to be applied to it. I'm trapped in here now. So you take the stone slab and then iron nugget, and then stomp. This part right here was what was just giving me so much grief, because trying to do this most ways ends up with both iron nuggets in one deployer, and you need them to be split between the two. So I ended up doing is I used a mechanical arm, and I have this brass tunnel set up right here, and the tunnel is set up to split multiple items. Multiple outputs available, split. So when at least two, which it will grab both of them at once because this is set up to output everything. So as long as 2 iron ingots go in, it'll split them 1-1. And then that goes in there. And then the stone slab goes here. It does work. It's just a little more complicated than I was hoping. The Botania area. So I know I said I wasn't going to automate the living wood and living rock, but I did. Yeah, this is basically the same system I have set up. I talk about in my video that I made. I made a video on how to do this. And it's basically the exact same setup. The only real difference is that I have a barrel here that there's a exporter feeding into. And then I've just got a stack of stone and a stack of oak, and then everything else is blocked with these sticks. And then there's an import bus here that'll pull the sticks out, and the formation planes are locked to either stone or oak logs. So those sticks never come out, but the stone and oak logs do. And then the annihilation planes are underneath, and they're attached to this drawer here. And then you can see that I've got this set to only hold a stack, and it's locked. So now that it's full, this process is stopped, and nothing else will change there. And then this drawer is connected to that controller and hooked into the ME system. So I have access to this from inside. So if I take any of these out, then the ones that are available will immediately get harvested, and new ones will get put down and converted. I also did something similar here where I have another barrel behind this brass funnel. And the nice thing with brass funnels is that you can turn them off with a redstone signal. So that does two things with this setup here. The first thing is it lets me override it with a lever. And the second thing is that it lets me use a weighted pressure plate. So if I turn this lever off, you'll see that a coal comes out, and then once the endo flame notices, it gets sucked up immediately, which pops up the next one. There you go. And then that coal will sit there and wait until the endo flames are ready for the next one, or it'll despawn. Which, obviously, it's coal. Nobody cares. It's fine. But it won't keep spitting it out. It won't do extras, because that was always a problem that I had with previous designs, is that it would drop 2 when I only wanted it to drop 1, and it was a thing. So now it only does 1 at a time, and it's very nice. And then you just accomplish that by setting the filter on this to only do 1, or just another one. There you go. And of course that feeds into the mana pool here, which is pretty much almost full. It might even be really close to full. I had to move the potato over here. Team out of the way. Okay, so it's almost full. I've currently got a catalyst underneath there that was making sweet berries. Now, the reason why I have the glass here and how I got the blue ice back there is if we take water, we can put it right here. I'm actually kind of happy. Like, I kind of love this, how this process works, and I don't know if this is just a happy coincidence in how this all meshed together with the different mods, or if it's intentional, if the mod pack creator actually added these recipes. Alright, so a water source placed near a pure daisy converts into a snow block. If we take the snow block, we can toss it into a mana pool with an alchemy catalyst underneath it, and we get ice. Then we take the ice and we put it in front of a washer. And I'm actually going to have to go over here because it's going to get sucked up right over. But if we wash ice, it turns it into packed ice. And then if we take the packed ice and we put that next to a pure daisy, but if we put packed ice next to a pure daisy, we get blue ice. So that's such an easier way to get blue ice than doing it anything remotely vanilla. So I actually need a little bit more packed ice for a project that we're going to work on today. But it's very, very handy. So another thing that we've been running into an issue with is this mess. Not only does this not really generate the amount of power that I'm running into needing, it's also ugly. It is very, very ugly. Lava is not a pretty block. It doesn't look good. I mean, it produces light, which is nice, but other than that, it's just kind of a mess. And it has come to my attention that I was using power wrong. So I fixed that. I have a lot of thermo generators over here, and these are all the hardened tier of generator. I can do blazing, I just haven't done it yet. But underneath these, rather than being lava, I have blocks of blazing crystal. So these are actually running at 280% efficiency, which means each and every single one of these generates 280 Fe per tick, which is as much Fe per tick as this whole mess made. So this mess made about 300 Fe per tick. One of these makes the same amount. So we're not short on power anymore. We've got plenty of power now. And again, I can upgrade these. I can easily upgrade these to blazing. I just haven't done it yet. But I want to do is I want to get rid of this mess, because I think that'll also help my frame rate, since I don't have lava being updated, flowing around and being updated. But you can see over here, this is actually even upgraded to the blazing tier. I have an energizing rod, and you can attach these to any Fe compatible block, so it works just fine on the flux point. And then it's put into the energizing orb, and I have the orb hooked in to the ME system, so it will auto craft the materials. And the one thing that I do want to warn you about, because I had a problem with this earlier, this orb will only process a recipe when it recognizes the recipe. If you put more than that recipe in, like if you try to put 2 or 3 copies of the recipe into the orb, it will just not do anything. It'll just sit there and wait until you just give it one recipe. Recipe's worth of materials, I should say. So it's very important on the pattern provider that you switch this to blocking mode. So if the pattern provider sees that there are already items in the orb, it won't keep trying to push more items in. They'll just wait in the pattern provider until it finishes processing, then it'll put the next one in. And then to get the items out of the orb, we just have a vanilla hopper right down underneath it, and then there's just I have a pipe there to get it up into the pattern provider. If you put a pipe on the orb, it might work on the base, having a pipe come off of it. I had problems where it was pulling the ingredients out before they'd been processed. So the hopper seems to work better, and I think that's just a design. Like I think power actually intends for you to do something like this. Maybe you use a hopper to feed the items in from the top as well. I have also expanded or separated out the different auto hammers. So I now have one for sand, I have one for dirt, and I have one for gravel, rather than having them all in one. So now it doesn't have to wait for it to finish processing the previous to start processing the next one. I added a second smelting factory because the recipes on this one filled up, and I figured it was easier to just have a whole second factory than to try to just put another pattern provider, because I could have just stuck another pattern provider on top of it and just adjusted the configs to allow inputs that way, and it would have worked. But I'll just have a second one. Why not? Doesn't hurt anything, and these are easy enough to make. And then I upgraded them all the way to the ultimate tier. So all my mechanism machines are now at ultimate tier. I don't actually have that many of them that I'm using. We've got the big old mess of molecular assemblers. I've got more of them down here. Big mess there, big mess there. This one isn't full yet. I just built the whole assembler. I upgraded the blast furnaces and the smelt and the smoker to the obsidian furnace tiers, and you can actually create these as you make them as normal furnaces, and then you use an augment to restrict it to smoking or blasting recipes. Otherwise, they're just furnaces. It doesn't really seem like it does anything different. The reason to use a vanilla smoker or a vanilla blasting furnace instead of a regular furnace is that they run slightly faster when fed the right material. So, you know, irons and metal into the blasting furnace and food into the smoker. With the iron furnace mod, it doesn't seem like that actually does anything other than just restricting what items can be put into it. I also hooked this chest up to the ME system, so if I put items in here, they end up in the ME system. I took out that big old creosote tank here and just directly hooked an import bus up to the coke oven. So it's just making whole coke. The coke ends up getting pulled into the system, and the creosote gets pulled into the system as well. That let me get rid of the create pipes and stuff that I had up here, because I don't really need them. Alright, I've mentioned it a few times at this point that I started working on blood magic. And one of the things you need with blood magic is you need demon wills. And the way that you get them is by killing mobs. You can use a lasso, the demonic lasso or whatever it's called, kill them with a regular weapon, or you can use something like a sentient sword to get it. And obviously this mob farm doesn't work for that anymore. So without having to go in and change all that, what I did, if I turn that on, is I added a section up here. We're now actually directly above the mob farm, and you can see there's mobs falling down in there already. And this doesn't really help any, but if I flip this lever, a panel slides over. And if we wait just a few seconds, we get some skellies. And we can just kill them, and if I turn the magnet on, I get all that stuff pulled into my inventory. So that lets me get the demon will that I need to be able to charge up the gems and fill up my sword and all that. I have a gem here and a gem here. In the previous time that I played with blood magic, you ended up needing 2 gems because you needed one to fuel the recipe to upgrade the other one. This one, it doesn't seem like that's the case, but I still have the 2 anyway. And this is just a real simple create mechanism. So we've got the mechanical piston here, and then this is all super glued together, and there's a clutch in there that this lever is attached to. Flip it back, it'll pull back in, and there you go. Magnet off again. So now they're just gonna fall straight down into there. And if we go down, we end up in the blood magic section. So I had to build this wall kind of weird, because there's actually the altar is right here. And it's the tier 3 altar, so it has the glowstone here on the edges. But right here, you see I've got a zombie spawner there, and these are spawners that we pulled out of the dungeon. I believe the skeleton spawner up there is out of the first dungeon that we found, and then the zombie spawner is out of the big dungeon. But if we hit the lever, it turns off the lights, and it turns fans on back there, and then we can grab our dagger sacrifice and just boop, and that puts the blood essence, or the life essence, into the blood altar. And you basically just stand here and do this till that's full. I've got most of the things that I need up here. Check the tier of it with that. Frame rate display is over top of the tier, but if I click it there, you see it's a tier 3, and it holds 12,000 life points because I've upgraded. And then of course we can use the magnet to get the actual loot out of there, and you can redstone link back there. And then here's my alchemy table and the Hellfire Forge. I've got them here for now. Might end up moving them. Obviously I'm going to have to expand all this again to upgrade to the tier 4, but you can see I've got plenty of room. Having to travel back and forth to the dungeons really made me realize that it's a distance. You know, it's all the way over here, and that's just for the dungeon. If I want to go all the way out to the Nether to, for example, explore the Nether dungeon, or all the way out to the end and explore the end dungeon, which we're going to need to do at some point, and I need netherrack and I need endstone. And you can see that I did actually take my contraption at one point to get a bunch of netherrack. I've crushed it all out down already. But we need a faster way to travel down this way. That's where this comes in. So this scary looking thing with the grills all over the front of it is a train contraption. If I go in here and I assemble, now it's a train. And if we jump up on here, got the door, sit in the seat, we can activate it. And now if I go, it doesn't like, so what it's doing is it's placing tracks, and then this is going to start drilling the stone. Here it goes. So now it's breaking the stone and it's placing a track. And as we go, you can see we've got a whole bunch of track behind us. Now obviously this is a one-way kind of a trip, because if we go back, it's going to end up breaking all the tracks. But we only really need to go until we get out to here. It's kind of fun too to read. It keeps telling me that it's derailed because I should have actually put this out another block rather than having it right at the front. Maybe stop doing that, but you can kind of see what's going on here. So this is chewing up the stone, and then there's a deployer that places down a track, and the whole thing moves forward. Yeah, this is not a great design. Don't do this if you decide you want to do this yourself, because this deployer should go one block out so that it doesn't keep telling me that it's derailed. But I think if I click it from here, I think I can, yeah, there we go. You can kind of see, and yeah, like the wheels don't like that the track gets placed down, far away. The wheels don't like that the track gets placed down in front of it. Yeah. But it does work, and we're getting close. Of course, the only problem is, so I've got some storage here, but we can't access this storage while it's a train. So I actually need to go all the way down to the end and put down another station in order to be able to turn it back into a train. Or take it back there and turn it back into a train. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and build this track. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and build this track, and I will see you guys once it's built. Oh, we're so close. Alright, so we are getting very close to the 2 dungeons, and I want to put this first station. I really want to have multiple stations along this track. And I want to put the first one, I think, like right in between these 2 dungeons. I don't honestly know that I'd ever really need to come back here. But kind of just for completeness, I just want to have it. I just want to have it because I think it'll be fun. And I'm realizing now my torch is actually going with me because it's actually in the super glue. Alright, so right about here ought to be good. So we should be able to just stop it. Okay, let's hop out. And I'm going to run back here and slap some torches on the wall. Alright, so now that we've reached the first of the 2 dungeons, so the small spawner dungeon is down there, and the larger dungeon is right there. You can see the scaffolding, so I believe we can hook that there, and then put him down right there, and I think we can name this track station, so we'll call this Stone Dungeons. Accept. Now, if we hop back into the train, we can take control of it and hold space to approach. Gotta break a block. Arrived at Stone Dungeon. So now that it's here, now that the train is here, we can go in here and actually disassemble this, which will allow us, let me take that, which will allow us to access the storage that's on the train. So I can take all this cobblestone out, and we can send it to the ME system. And then, as we get more train tracks being created, I might need to go back over there because it might have unloaded. It's either unloaded or it's gotten stuck. Yeah, it's probably gotten, it's one of the two. But we can go back there and get more. We can put them into this barrel here, and it will keep placing so we can keep going. And the next place that I want to stop is going to be out here in the Netherrack area, probably pretty close to right here. It looks like this one is also above my tunnel. But that's kind of the next place that I want to get to stop. What is this? There's an amethyst geode right here. Crazy. But anyway, that's what we want to do, because the next thing that we really want to do is we want to go up into this Nightmare Factory and do a little exploring. Basically the same thing that we did in the Stone Dungeon. We want to come up here and do that for this one, as well as harvest some more netherrack, which this will actually help us with as well. So you're going to stay here, and we're going to keep going that way. But I think I need to go back to base and check and see what's going on with tracks, why the tracks are not generating. Should be. So I'm going to just pop these in here, and hopefully I won't forget that they're in there. And I'm going to head back to base and see what's going on. All right, so my system isn't perfect. Every once in a while, something like this will happen where you can see I've got a bunch of rails here that are trying to be made, and for some reason all 6 nuggets have ended up in this first hand. So we can do is we'll just do that, and that should fix it. Nope, we need to put that one in there. There we go, now it's all good. Every once in a while it does that. I don't know why. There isn't really a way that you can fix it either, because it's just, it depends on how the items get put into the chest and how they come out. And yeah, it's just, it's not perfect. I don't know what else we could try. We might be able to use like round robin instead of split. But the problem with that is that only works if they come in one at a time, and we can't specify the input counter for this. You see, I can't change the number that this is expecting. Just like how we can't change the output on some of them too. So, I don't know. Mostly it works. Every once in a while you come over here and unclog it. Still better than what the other options that I had. Alright, while we wait for the system to make more train tracks so that we can actually run that train all the way out to the Nether ring and begin working on that stuff out there, the next thing that I really want to get is I want to build this blast chiller, because this will make a lot easier way, will give us a much easier way to make ice. Obviously, going through the little chain that I showed you before with the snow into ice and all of that, it works. It's fine. It's not that big of a deal, but it is kind of time-consuming. The other reason why I really want to do this is that it gives me a way to make obsidian where I don't have to rely on a chicken, because we can take lava and we can just put it into a chiller and it makes the obsidian. And as we have plenty of lava now, this is going to be a really easy way to do this. I believe that's the only, yeah. So we can use one of these to make ice, and we can use one of these to make obsidian. But in order to craft it, we need packed ice. Now we have the redstone coil, so now we just need some Invar gear. And I don't believe I have any. Oh, I do have some Invar. Excellent. So then we just need 8 of those. Go ahead and toss them in here. I already have the gear cast set up. Need to set this up to where it refills. I've been I need to do that, but I also don't really feel like I'm going. I also don't think I'm going to, because I actually want to switch this over to using Blazing Blood once we have a blaze spawner that I can set up. So anyway, there's our Invar gears. Those go right there, and there is the blast chiller. Quest complete blast chiller. Which reminds me, I've got a bunch of quests here that we need to go through. What? This is 118. Skulk isn't in this. It's literally just the sensor. It's literally just the sensor. The sensor is the only thing that we have. Oh my god, that's ridiculous. Why? Why have... Oh, that I'm keeping. Those are handy. Why the skulk sensors, though? I guess 118 technically has skulk sensors in it. Now, the problem with blood magic is that in order to go to the next tier, we actually need to go into the dungeon. Because to make the magician's blood orb, okay, that's a block of gold, but to get to the tier 3 blood altar, so to make the tier 4 altar, which is the next altar up that we can make, we need Tau fruit. So we need to go to the edge of the hidden realm and run that dungeon, and that's going to be a little bit of ways. Anyway, let's get the blast chiller placed down. So I got to find somewhere where I have access to a ME cable. Put it back here. We can pop it right there. There we go. So we just have to run power into it, and then we'll need to get fluid in here, and that should be it. Now, in theory, I should be able to put a pattern provider on it that has fluids in the pattern. And that should give me... That should let me just use it with fluid, and I shouldn't have to mess around with buckets or anything else like that. I will experiment with that, and we'll see what ends up happening. Alright, so in theory, I encode this. This tells me 1 bucket of water makes 1 ice. Encode. Now, if we take this pattern and we put it into this pattern provider that's right here, we make sure that this is going to work for... let's see, that's the back, so we want that to be input and output. And then auto output enabled. So now if I ask the system for ice, oh, you don't have water in the system. Okay, well, we'll have to resolve that, but that should be easy enough to figure out. Okay, I think I know how to do it. I can do that real quick. All right, so basically the idea is that we already have... I have like this pump right here, and this is going over this spout right here. And I made this so I can make grass really easily, because if you squirt water onto a dirt block, it makes grass. Yeah. Really simple and super easy and all that. But I think if I were to put another pump, I really wish it wouldn't like fling me into the air like that. If I were to put another pump right here, so I can put a pipe right next to it because this is encased, so it's not going to connect to any pipes that I put next to it. So if I pop a fluid pipe right here, now I should be able to hook another pump. We got to do something about this, or it's going to do that and make a mess. So Stone, please. Stop. Okay, you're not helping. And you put out the campfire. Just a little tank right there. There we go, that's connected. And then we hook the ME system up to this. Burp, and then burp. Okay. Now we take this storage bus, slap it right there. Loading. Device online. Now you can see the water. And we've got ever increasing amounts of water in the system. And this will automatically shut off. It won't, I mean, it'll just fill up to the 64 buckets that we've got. And that should be plenty for everything. And of course, if I ever need water, I can just do that. What we were trying to do originally. So if we come over here, we ask for a block of ice. Next, it now knows where water is. Start. It works. Oh, and that'll also work. So if we don't, as long as we don't keep anything in it, we should also be able to create a recipe to do the exact same thing with obsidian, with my lava farm that I have back on the other side of the base. So now this little machine right here can make me ice, or it can make me obsidian, and I'm very happy about that. You know, again, we kind of have to go the long way for some of these, but we can do without chickens. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it without chickens. Oh, I suppose I should address this. I discovered the engineer's goggles will go into your bubble slot. And when they do, because normally they render, you know, up on your forehead like this, but when you put a helmet on, they actually get pushed down over your eyes. Like, that's kind of awesome, actually. I'm going to go back to working on the train, since we've got some more tracks now. 228 of them, in fact. And it did finally finish. Oh, I also altered and expanded my auto crafting. So I've now got 828K auto craft set up, each with 2 crafting coprocessors, which means that a single pattern provider is allowed to use 3 molecular assemblers at once. I believe it's 3. It might be 4. I don't think I think the storage only counts as 1, no matter how many of them you have. Train. We're gonna go back. We're gonna keep working on the train. Very far out there. I don't really want to walk all that way, so let's do this. So we come over here to our train station. I want to do something like for the end, because I don't like that how it just ends. I want it to do something else. But if we come over here to the train station, we hit the create new station. Actually, I'm going to name this real quick. We can do create new train and close window. Now you see there's a little highlight right here. So if we take the train casing and we click on the highlight, it now creates the small bogey, and then we can click the track and it'll convert it to the large, but that looks silly, so we want that one. Okay. And then we put a controls there, and we put a control there, so we can go both directions, and then we'll put a seat right there, and I believe we don't need the ladder anymore. We can just boop, get up into it. There we go. So that's all we really need, because all this is going to be is just to move me around. And we can assemble train. At least one forward-facing control block needs to be. It is. Oh, we have to glue it. I forgot to do that. Now we can assemble it, and we can name it the Fox Mover, because it moves foxes. Specifically this one. So if we click this one, we can go that way. Comes out to here. Now we're here. And now we can. Why this is in like assembly mode. That's a much faster way to get out here, so I can load this up with tracks. And then we can take this one and keep going with it. And like I said, we want to take this one out to the nether ring. And we can use this guy to get back and forth. I think there's a way where you can like attach that train to this train and then separate them later, but I'm not going to mess around with it. Instead, we can just do is assemble that. Then hop up in here, shut the doors, take a seat. And we're going to go ahead and move this up a bit. Stopped. I just wanted to move it up a little bit. Now we can put some more torches on the walls here. And then we can hop up into this one. And we can bring it right up to this station. Boop. So that'll work, and like I said, I'm gonna come back out here and I'll keep working on getting that all the way out to the nether ring, probably in between episodes. For now, that's what we're gonna do. Now I want to see, because supposedly we can use this other controls to go that way, but I don't know if that'll let us arrive at that station the way that this one does. So we're gonna click this guy and leave and head back this way. Alright, what's it going to do when I get up close to them? Nope, just derails. Okay. So I can do is you can click with a wrench and you can actually move the train. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually just going to flip this. So instead of it pointing that way, I'm going to have it point that way. So now we should be able to control, and yeah, there we go. There we go. So that should work. I'm not sure about that other one down there because, again, like I said, it doesn't seem like it works going backwards. Maybe you can do it if you put a second train station down. I'll mess around with it and figure it out and see if we can do something better with it. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Stoneblock 3. I hope that you are enjoying the series. We made some good progress today. We got some work done and a path started, heading ourselves out into the nether and onto the end rings. Make sure that you hit the follow button so that you can catch us for the next episode, where we will most likely be going into that nether dungeon. I might release it as a, extra long uncut episode, the same way that we did the stone dungeon. So if that is something that you are looking forward to, make sure that you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss it when it comes out. So make sure that you're having yourselves a wonderful day, wonderful evening, whatever time of day it happens to be for you. I hope it goes well for you. And as always, friends, don't you dare go hollow.